from my new book, Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. I'm really excited about this book. I started this book in 2010 when I was at University of Pennsylvania. I graduated from the University of Penn with a Master's of Arts in Liberal Studies in December of 2011. And I graduated and then I did the Master's of Philosophy, which was post studies. I did a Master's of Philosophy in Neoliberalism. Today marks the day that I graduated from University of Penn, 2013, with a Master's of Philosophy. I did a lot of work with people like Philippe Bourgeois, who was a professor at UCLA. Then he went to University of Penn. He's a distinguished professor of anthropology. Has written several ethnographies. Did research, if you know the book Righteous Dope Fiend, looking at Kensington, Philadelphia. People like Martin Oppenheimer, who has written books about the hate. Talking about Rita Bernard, who wrote Nelson Mandela's memoirs. Walter Litt, who is distinguished professor at University of Pennsylvania. He worked on the book Economic Labor, the History of Economic Labor in America. And so if you can get this book, please do get it. It will come out in paperback on Monday. By Monday of next week, or by this weekend, it will be available. But this is in hardcover. This is the paperback. And I want to read something from the book. It says, this is from part B because it's a two-part. It's really like two books in one. So you're paying two for the price of one. It's not just it's an academic nonfiction text, but it's not just for college students. It's a great read. And look at the writing. It's very clear, easy to read, and it's beautiful. But let me read it. It says, one of the chapters looks at this. Will the global justice movement, it's part 2 of the book, the second part of the book looks at the global justice movement, or the resistance movement, or the civil rights movement. So it's not just about the Caribbean. It's not just about the America. No, if you go on Amazon puts the book at Amazon puts it in deconstructivist philosophy, deconstructivist criticism and history, but it also has Caribbean and Latin American politics, but it's also American politics because it looks at American policies and how those policies affect the Caribbean. But this particular page 204, I asked the question, will the global justice movement and resistance against neoliberalism succeed? And I said, it is true that neoliberalism continues to hold sway over policies of the World Bank, the IMF, the G8. The recent Black Lives Matter protests in the black and brown communities in America poses a problem to this question. But it would be a mistake to therefore call the global justice movement a failure. The movement has succeeded in changing policies of the international financial institutions, the IFIs, and major donor governments. This will benefit developing countries, foreign debt, and in private business signing onto codes of conduct that govern labor conditions in firms to which multinational corporations subcontract work. It is now standard to include labor rights and environmental clauses in international trade agreements, and to include civil society groups in program design and implementation. This is not to say that sweatshop conditions are no longer a problem, or that civil society participation is always effective and meaningful. Nonetheless, there is more public scrutiny of business practices than there was 15 years ago. The global justice movement also succeeded in making previously hidden exploitation and inequalities publicly visible through particularly cinema verite, truth in film, and particularly documentary films. But this has not been organized beyond haphazard film projects by indirect members of the group. Now, in the global justice movement, if the global justice movement has any chance of truly changing the economic misfortunes and oppression of those who are last, if the global justice movement's dreams of ending poverty and inequality and making the first last and the last first, the use of strategic and tactical violence must be part of the equation. Will the global justice movement succeed? If change operates on a continuum, then maybe in some, a lifetime far removed from the sufferers who are hurting now. If change truly operates in a continuum, then how can we measure the movement of change? And when can we predict it? And if change is linear, then the global justice movement have succeeded. But for all that we have considered, change is not. And poor people cannot wait indefinitely to alter their repressive and dead-end lives. Whatever action the global justice movement has organized is yet to promise or guarantee the radical and revolutionary advances people in the world need to live meaningfully. I continue by saying they have not succeeded, and any belief that change is progressive only slows the pace and immediacy of change. Change will not come in a twinkling of an eye by some eschatological occurrence or by some divine intervention, but by drastic means. I'm gonna stop here, guys. But this is great. This is great weed. You guys gotta delve into this book, okay? Because it helps you to think. It gets you thinking. In an interdisciplinary and comprehensive way about some of the issues that we have always discussed, but it presents a fresh new voice, a fresh new thinking. I want to thank all those persons who have invested in my life so meaningfully, and I hope that you guys out. It's at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target.com, Walmart.com. But if you guys like hardcover, it will be coming out in hardcover on Friday. It's in ebook. If you go on Apple right now, you can click on it. I think they're selling it for $8.99 on Apple, $29.99 for the paperback, which is, to be honest, if you get the paperback, it's better. It's beautiful, man. Thank you guys. I will have more of these sessions. We will be in Florida in a few weeks from now, doing book signing and conferences and several events. I'll be teaching a class at the Jamaica Theological Seminary. The class is called Caribbean Thought, and I will be delving into some of these concepts. I'll have a Zoom link and webinar link so that interested to join the discussions. The class starts sometime in June 7th. And I will have several of these sessions, but thank you guys for tuning in, and continue to I really want this. I said, by the way, I did post something on LinkedIn, and I said this book is not really for self, really. It's not to promote myself. Recently I was on a Zoom link, and I joined the Zoom link about 3 days ago. It was a Sunday, I believe. Someone sent me a link to join a discussion with several leading minds and leading people, business professionals, and in Jamaica, and they wanted me to see what Jamaica is done since since I'm talking about the global South, the Caribbean, and black and brown communities, and the lack of investment in these communities. So I went on, and someone from the Honeybun Foundation was speaking. I think it was the director or the president. So I was happy to hear that there's a foundation in Jamaica that is helping Jamaicans, helping to develop that kind of creative spirit, that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, because that's that's needed. So I asked a question to Lashawna. I said, Lashawna, what? So you're telling me what kind of investments you guys provide to small businesses or entrepreneurs or Jamaicans or people of the Caribbean who want to invest and to expand? And and the answer was this: oh no, we don't provide financial investment. We just provide support and some kind of support, helping small businesses or people who want to engage in small businesses know where to go, and that kind of support. And I said, okay, another venture that provide support that does, and the kind of support that Jamaica needs is financial support. Money. The country lack money. I want to do big things. I want this book to I want this book to do well, because I want to provide support and investment, financial investment. That's what is needed in the Caribbean. They lack money. Okay? We need to provide meaningful developments where they have access to do big things. Yes? And we need to do big things. Not just in Jamaica, but I'm talking about black and brown communities. Say, for example, they had the PPP loan and the SBA loan. How many black and brown people get it? First of all, they said, okay, fine. This third stimulus, what we're going to do, we're going to allow these people in communities, small businesses, to have access to it. Okay, but that was not the case, because you know what the banks did? The banks started to prevent you from opening accounts with them. A lot of the banks, so now you're calling the banks to open up a bank account. They think that you want access to the PPP or the SBA loan. They close. They say, oh no, we're not taking any new applications anymore. So that creates a problem. So now you can't even open up a bank account to apply for a PPP loan. Okay. There's another issue. Another issue is they don't have ties. They don't have the connections. Or they say, oh, you have to be in business since February of last year. Or they come up with some policy, with some caveat, which continue to make it difficult for black and brown people and for small people to access the capital and the investments needed in order to start businesses, meaningful businesses. And so these are some of the things I address and I will be looking at. I'm supposed to be I'm at Georgetown. I'm working on developing a thesis. I have a thesis already, a dissertation, which I was gonna present, but with some of the new things, I think I'm gonna tweak it a bit. I'm gonna have a second edition of this book, but I already have a second edition ready to present to you guys, because this book really, it looks at income inequality and poverty in the global south, and how the arrangements between the global north, and when I talk about the global north, I'm talking about post-industrial countries like Germany, the US, the UK, France, and so on. How the international arrangement between countries allows countries of the global north to get away with certain things. They can wiggle their way around these policies, but the countries of the global south cannot, and they are so vulnerable to international shocks. I talk about that. But what about the black and brown communities? What about Philadelphia? And I've talked about that in another study, which actually should be out probably within 6 to 7 months from now, or that may be the basis of my dissertation that I have to defend. But I also want to look at the international immigration issue, because Joe Biden is onto something. He wants to solve the international immigration problem, and one of the ways of dealing with the immigration issue, he says, was to help to invest in countries say for example Mexico and so on at the border, and if you invest in these countries, then these countries probably will have better economies and the people will not want to come to the US. But of course, that's going to create another problem. And I said in a blog recently, the international competition between countries will forever create an immigration problem, because one country wants to lead. They want the monopoly on certain things. They want to make the most money on certain goods and services, and they want to dominate the market. Okay? So as a result of that, globalization, which creates that kind of opportunity for countries to do that, you will always find that some countries will get richer, other countries get poorer because of that international competition, and then there is this drive from the poor countries to the rich countries. If we deal with the issue of competition, then maybe we can start fixing the immigration issue. That's another book I want to write. That's a dissertation or an hypothesis I want to explore. What do you guys think? But thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited about all of these things. It's great about critical thinking, about looking at income inequality, poverty, looking at nationalism, looking at how effective is the civil rights movement? How effective is this nationalist movement? I talk about that. I'm critical of it. I make certain determinations and conclusions about Marcus Garvey, about Martin Luther King Jr., and about the whole civil rights movement and nationalist movement and so on. I talk about, are we really free? So, thank you guys, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you for joining me, and please do get the book. It's really an exciting read, and you guys can send me messages, text me, challenge me. Join my class when it starts June 7th. I'm going to send the link on Zoom. We will be at various locations in Philadelphia, in New Jersey, in New York, in the upcoming summer, in New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, and Florida. We also have contact persons in the Caribbean. The book is not available in the Caribbean yet, or in Jamaica. By the way, if you're in Barbados, this book talks about you, because I also do a comparative study. The first part of the book looks at Jamaica, but not necessarily Jamaica. It looks at the global south, countries of the global south. But I look at how globalization affects Jamaica, which is a case study. How globalization affects countries in general of the global south, with a case study of Jamaica. But I do a comparison. I make a comparison between Barbados, Jamaica. But I also go as far as looking at Singapore. So if you're in Singapore, read the book. If you're in Barbados, read the book. If you're in Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, read the book. It's a great. If you're an academic, a companion, get the book. Great read. Thank you guys. Have a great day.